Today I'd like to talk to you about expanded cable braided sleeving. What is braided cable sleeving? Well, it comes in a reel, various sizes, but it's a bit like the stents they put in people who have heart attacks in the veins. So basically it's a woven mesh that actually can expand by pushing it together. It's used to protect cables, that sort of thing. If you've got a HDMI cable, you might see a fishnet sort of pattern on the outside. That's what this is. It can expand to 100%, but actually I got 100 mil length of this, pushed it up to the maximum, and it come out to be 30 mil long. So it actually expanded 300%. It was 33 mil, it'd be 300%. But it's designed to go over ends of connectors, that type of thing, and then form to the shape. But it's great to protect your cable. So if you've got cable rubbing and that sort of thing, it's good. Now I'm using it for the Delta 3D printer I'm building, and typically this is just the wires that hang down on the side for the micro switch, which is the limit switch, goes up and clicks. So you can just have that hanging over the edge like that on your machine. Or, as I say on the cooking shows, here's one I prepared earlier, you could have that hanging on your machine. Also, it fits neatly into the slot, looks a lot better, a lot safer, and depending on the price you can pay like $5 for about 15 meters of it, so it's fairly cheap. You could use heat shrink, but heat shrink isn't as flexible and isn't as expandable, but we do use heat shrink in the process I'm about to show you. One of the biggest drawbacks, there's one big one and one little one, is that when you cut it, because it's a woven mesh, when it expands it gets bigger. But when you cut it, the ends fray out, and if you're not careful, you could lose 10-15 millimeter of all this frayed mesh. So what they advise you to do is to use what they call a hot knife. Basically it's just a blade between two battery terminals, and it gets hot and you just slice it. You can make up a little X-Acto blade holder for your soldering iron, and that can do. You could get an old hacksaw blade and sharpen one edge, or even an old broken razor blade, go over to something like the stove over there, heat it up and then just slice it. They say cigarette lighter, that type of thing. I have cut it, and then I have got the barbecue lighter or the gas or match or cigarette lighter, but the trouble is the plastic ends up becoming a knob, a blob. So where it's meshed like that, you might have a knob on the end of that and a knob on the end of that, and where it might be an X, those two might be joined. So if it's a knob on the end, it still comes loose. When it's joined together, yeah, it's great. Then the other thing is that when you have cut it, you normally cut it in the smaller position rather than the expanded one, which I feel you should push it open and cut it on the size you want. And what happens is you end up with a blob of melted plastic. Looks like a dead fly. And that's actually just with the end heated. And when you then do open it up, it doesn't open up because the plastic's melted and it's big blob on this side. So I found that a bit irritating, frustrating, you know, not the best. So I come up to this with this simple solution, and it just entails what we call sticky tape, sallow tape, or whatever you happen to call it in your country. So basically, work out your length. Now, I placed the limit switch up on the machine, I lowered it down, I said yeah, it goes from there and it has to be that long, and I come over here and I go right, that's 530, great. But if you get this and cut it at 530, depends how much it stretches, it may get smaller. So I don't know, and it's shrunk about 10, 15 millimetre, but that's also because I've gone up to the corner a bit more than what I had planned. Now, if it is on something larger, like this is a 6mm one, if you're going to put on, say, 8mm, get yourself a piece of wooden rod, dowel, piece of steel of the diameter that you want it to finish at. Then feed it on that, and you can say measure 100mm, feed it on, you've marked 100mm, feed it on, and then measure how much it's shrunk. So I just say it's 100mm and shrunk 50mm. Well, you know, if you want it 300mm long, you have to cut a piece 600mm long. That's as a rough guide. If it has to be more accurate than 5mm, you then need to cut one end and leave the other end till the very last. Now, the reason why I say that is a lot of the other cut methods, you cut it to length, you push it on, you say right, that's 100mm, you pull it off, then you cut it and then you put it back on. But the ends may fray, it may unravel, so you might lose 20mm of crap, and so that piece may be wasted because it's not good enough. So what I do, and this is a simple way, is got my measurement, and quite simply, where you're going to cut it, you wrap around a piece of sellotape, bit of sticky tape. So if you were going to cut a piece that needed to be, say, 8mm, get yourself a pencil or a biro, this is a screwdriver, and just put it into the size you want, expand it, then wrap your sticky tape around, and then that will be at the right diameter, so as when you're shoving your cabling in, it does allow it to expand. On this end, however, if you happen to have a long bit and you haven't got a piece of material that long, you can squeeze it together and then push it together, and that will make it bow out. Then you can, with your third hand, wrap it around with the sticky tape. So then what you do, I've made this one 530, and like I said, it's 10-15 shorter. So I put the sticky tape so it's in the middle of where the cut's going to be. I then just come up, say right, just on the measuring here, 550, leave me fingernail there, cut it. Now, the reason why you have it bigger is the end on your roll does not fray. See? If you are going to use that for a bigger piece of cabling, well, you then would start to put your biro in, unwrap that bit of plastic, sticky tape, and then put a bit more on. So now we've got our ends, and that's why the original one had the plastic, the sticky tape on, so on one end, and it's now on the other end. If you squeeze it a bit on the side like you do getting the shell off a prawn, and feed your little screwdriver in, and that's to open it up. On this particular end, here is another method to finish the ends. Cut the length longer, but you can start to bubble it out, and notice how the end here will all of a sudden disappear on the inside. See how it's on the inside? And then you could put your heat shrink on that, and then you've got a double thickness. But you got to remember, you still got your cellophane tape on it. So that's one way of making a strong, secure end. Will never fray because the edges are over. You could force the other one to fold over. Bigger diameter, that works fine because you can unpick your cellophane from the inside, the sticky tape, and it'll be great. So that's that method. So you've cut it, you put your sticky tape. Now you need to find a bit of heat shrink that will be the right size when it's over your cable. So if this expands to 10 mil, you need a piece of 10 mils. So I always cut mine 10 mil long, mark it off, that way I know on a roll of a metre, I know how many I've got. So I cut it 10, 15, 20, 25, that sort of thing. So I've got 2. So you just feed it in the hole start with. Your sticky tape helps, doesn't fray. Put that one on. Put that one on. So now there's 2 pieces of sticky there. With the cable you're going to do, remove any large connector. These are the DuPont plugs. So I've taken them off. You just lift off the little plastic tab, because otherwise you have to try to force that through the hole, and they will expand it and may not fit over the end that's had the sticky tape on it. So take them off. Then with your sticky tape, bind them together, but don't have them 3 in a row. Have one sticking up and one down here somewhere. That way it's a narrow point and you can push it through easier. So you make sure you've got your 2 pieces of shrink in the middle. Make sure you've got that in. Twist that to be the finest point you can. And just try to feed it through. If you're having trouble, get your screwdriver again, put it in, and then hold it in that position. So then it's just a matter of feeding it through. After a while, it will then start to get stuck with the friction. So you just hold, say, back a few inches, expand it, and let it push by itself. Expand it, push by itself. Expand it, push by itself. And it will soon snake along. Then when you come to where the pieces of heat shrink are, just slide them over that lump. Back there, push it, and you can get it going on pretty quickly. Then hang on to one end and pull the tube down tight. That's it. Then get your heat gun. This is a hot gun, hot air gun. If you look at my other video on how to use a hot air gun, it'll show you how it works. I have like the paint stripper ones for the heat shrink, but I find with the nozzles, then you just remove the sticky tape, heat the end up just around with the heat shrink, and then you have your finished product, and no fraying, still can come off, and quite simple, quite versatile. So cheap, say $1 a metre if you buy it 5 metres at a time. Comes in various colours. I've got order for red, green, blue and yellow and white, and that's for the wiring identification. So that's how simple it is to use. Well worth it. Makes your projects look a bit more professional. Thanks for watching.